So it's part 3 of lesson 10, and we've integrated our Stripe payment gateway. And what we want to do now is generate an order receipt, create an order history as well, add some security around it. So we will start. Let's start by, we need to create first the save order method. So a fair bit of stuff has to happen in here. Again, this method will require authentication. And this is going to be a hidden method. There won't actually be a view. It'll just do all our processing and then redirect. So I would say there's probably 4 or 5 things that should happen inside of the save order method. What things should we do here? So the customer has paid successfully on Stripe, and now Stripe has sent them back to us. Charged their credit card, and now sent the customer back to our site. So what do we want to do in this method? Use the chat, tell me one thing that should happen after they pay. Anybody? Any thoughts? Okay, yes. So we will save the order and save the individual items in the order. Yep. Anything else we should do? I think there's 2 more things we need to do after we save the order and the details. What should the customer see if they go back to their cart after paying and saving the order? What should their cart look like? Yeah, Raymond, I agree, right? So we will want to empty the cart. Yep. Thanks, Jordan. And yes, who else mentioned that? So Jordan mentioned it, and Tushar mentioned, yeah, we'll want to show some kind of confirmation. So when it's all done, we should see a page that shows all the order, shows the order and all the details. And if I go to my cart after I pay, then the cart should be empty. Those items shouldn't still be in my cart once I've paid for them. So first we're going to, again, get the order from the session variable. We'll call getObject again, exactly the same way we did in our checkout method. And we are getting a models.order. And the name of our session variable is order. So this is the exact same line of code, first line we've got in our create checkout session. So we're going to add it to our DB set. And then we're going to commit those changes to the database. One of the neat things about this is our order, we don't have any ID yet, right? We've got all the other fields filled, first name, last name, total, date. But the order ID will default to 0 because it's an integer. As soon as we call save changes, Entity Framework will save that order to the database, but it will also retrieve, it'll update the order in real time. So it will populate it with the new order ID right away. We don't have to then write a query to go and fetch the new ID. It's going to get populated. We'll actually run it through with the debugger and we'll see that. So now we need to save the details. So we're basically going to go and retrieve the user's shopping cart, and we're going to copy each item to the cart into be a new order detail line. So we're getting the shopping cart for this customer. And then we're going to loop through the cart items and we're going to generate an order detail. So if they had 3 items in their cart, we're going to create 3 order detail records. We're creating a new order detail record. And then we can just copy the properties. We'll copy the pet ID and the price. Whoops. So we can just say pet ID equals I'm just going to go and look at our order detail model for a minute. So what have we got here? Basically just the quantity, price, and then we need the foreign key value. So we need to attach this So all of these are going to have the same order ID. If I buy 3 pets, right, it's one purchase. So they're all going to share that foreign key value. And then after we create the new order detail, we're going to add each one, but we're going to call the save one time. There's 2 reasons for this. We could try to call save in here. So each time we create a new line item, save to the database. For a couple of reasons, we're going to do it down here instead. All details to DB in one transaction. There's 2 reasons we're going to do this. Number one, it's a little more efficient. So every time we have to call the database, uses some resources. So it makes more sense to make one database call that can save all of these records at once. We're also advised not to call save changes in a loop. If we do this, it's going to give us some kind of a database concurrency error. So we're going to call the save changes after. We can then use basically this same loop though. So we're going to, once we've saved them to the database, we can loop through the items again, and we can remove all the items, and again, remove them from the cart, and again, commit that change to the database. So I'm going to use the exact same loop here again. Looping through the cart items. In this case, we're going to call remove. Again, after the loop, so that will empty out the user's cart. And then lastly, we're going to redirect. We're going to redirect to an action called details in a controller called orders. And we're also going to pass it, we need to pass in the order ID so we can display the receipt for this particular order. So we will pass in as a parameter, so our URL will be this, orders, details, with a number. So the user can see, hey, my order got saved, here's my order number, and I can check everything is right because the pet store just charged my credit card. Here's our full method. I think you can almost see it all. So I'm going to try this out. I'm going to make an order. And then I want to try to make an order as a different customer as well. We'll make a few orders here. So I'll leave the code up for a minute. And then I want to try it out. So the result should be after I pay successfully on the Stripe page, I should see my order and order details get saved to the database. If I look at my cart, it should be empty. But in the browser, I should get a blank screen because right now we don't have this yet. We'll build this next. But we'll try this method out first before we build anything else. And then we can look in the database and see if there is an order and order details data saved here. Go check it out. Yeah, it gets a bit tedious filling out the checkout form. That's totally normal when we're building a shopping cart. We got to make a lot of test transactions till we're confident it's working properly. Next, invoke Stripe, payment. I'll use the test MasterCard again. We'll go to pay. Okay, so now it takes me to orders details 1. It's good. So our code finished, didn't die. I'm going to open up Management Studio and take a look at my database. Let's see what's here. So there's 3 things I'm going to check. I want to check the order record, telling me I've got order ID 1. Yay, I'm the first customer. So first I'm going to check out my orders table. I'll just right click it and choose select top 1,000 rows. Okay, so here's my order. Time stamped, current date and time. It's got the right order total. It's got my email address. Order ID 1. So that's good. What about order details? Oh yeah, we've sort of ignored the quantity here, which is fine because we're buying unique pets. So order detail ID 1, and here's my foreign key. So that looks good. And if I go to my cart items, if my empty cart worked, there should be no cart items for customer@gc.ca. Those should have been deleted, which they have. So I no longer have any items. So if I go back to my cart, it tells me my cart's empty. So everything we've done inside a save order seems to be working properly. It generated an order. It saved the child data, the line items. It cleared out my cart. And then it took me off here, which doesn't exist yet, so I got a blank screen. I'm going to make another order using a Google account this time in a different browser. I'll also show you, I mentioned when we created the order, when we called add and save changes, I said this automatically populated the order ID. I'm actually going to run this with the debugger so we can actually see it. So go to a new tab, go use Chrome because I'm already signed into Google here in Chrome. So maybe I'll log in with my Google account first. Just register my Google account. Now I can start shopping, so my cart's empty. I'm going to go to checkout. Maybe I'll use the college address and phone number here, postal code. This time I'll use their sample visa. I just alternate 42s. Put in the college postal code. So now we watch, so my order is null here. Once we read it from the session variable, here's my order. Right, we can see all the properties that I've added, but order ID is 0. Right, we haven't saved to the database yet, so I don't have an order ID. But it says my order is $2,300. Once I call save changes, if I hit F11 to go to the next line, now when I look at my order ID has changed. It's no longer 0, it's now 2. So calling save changes, it does the insert, but it automatically grabs that primary key value and populates our object. And then I'll just go through, run. I think not sure what happened there. My process died. Okay, oh no, it took me here. So it took me to the right place. So now I should have 2 orders. Order ID 1 and 2 in my details. And 1 order using my customer account, a 2nd order using my in front of the net account, my Google login. So now we can use scaffolding. We want to generate this order confirmation page, and then we also want to add an order history. So we can scaffold this. In my Solution Explorer, I'm going to go to the controllers, and I'm going to add a controller. Like in assignment 2, we want an MVC controller with views using Entity Framework. Now this is going to give us a full controller with index, details, create, edit, delete. We really only need the index and details. We don't need the create, the edit, or the delete methods. So we'll click add. The only thing we have to choose here is the model. Everything else we can just leave. So the data context is already set. Our 3 checkboxes are already checked. And our controller name will just be orders controller. Add that. So now I've got an orders controller. Looks just like all the other scaffolded controllers. I'll build and start. And now I'll go to /orders. And here's what we get, right? We get a list of orders. And if I click on one, here's our kind of order confirmation page. So we need to do a little more with this page. It's pretty good, right? We can see a lot of the details. What changes should we be making here? This is pretty good, but as far as a receipt goes, it's kind of incomplete. How would we improve this page? Yep, we would want to show the details. We probably want to format the total as currency. We also should show the order number up here, right? So the customer knows their order number in case they have a problem or a question about it. We can also get rid of the edit button here. We can keep the back to list button. So let's open up this details view. Got lots of stuff open here. Close a few of these things. So first we'll go to views and orders. And here's details. So in here, in this H4, we'll say order number. We want to display the order ID in our H4. The total, I want to format this as currency. So I'm going to modify line 23. I'll also maybe change this to say order details. So I'm going to use our currency format on line 23. So that will format our total as currency. Whoops, sorry, capital M. We can make a few changes down at the bottom. The payment code, line 73 to 78, we'll remove this. We're not actually saving this. And our edit link, we can get rid of that too. I'll just save those changes. Now it looks like this. Order number shows up. Not sure what happened there. We'll go back. So now I get currency, payment code is gone, edit link is gone. So we can add a table with a small loop, very similar to the loop we had in the shopping cart and the table we had there. So we should be able to see whatever we purchased. And then we'll also need to deal with the cleaning up this page a bit and implementing some security around this. I will add maybe a section here. Orders. So we scaffolded the orders controller with views, and we are modifying the order details page. order items. So we'll put in a simple table here. We'll put on a header row. It's pet name, the price. And then we can use a loop to display the pets that were purchased. So we want to show the pet name. And the price. So this way, the customer knows exactly what they bought. Go back here and click, try it out. And now we get this. This fails. So it says our order details, this object isn't set. This doesn't exist. We look at the top, our model is order. So this is selecting and displaying an order. We know that's working, right? We could see all this stuff. But when we try to add the child data, it dies. This order details doesn't exist. So how do we fix this? We want to modify our details query in the orders controller to include the child data. So we're not only selecting an order, but we're also joining it to the order details. So we'll go to our orders controller. And your details method will start here on line 29. Here's our query. Lines 36 and 37, this is the query that fetches the order based on the ID. So we're going to add something here. And add dot include. We want to include the order details when we fetch an order. So this is inside of the details method in our controller. This should fix that error. Okay, we fixed one error. So it's crashing now, but it's crashing on the next line. Before it was crashing on this line, saying order details is not an object. We've gotten past that. It's now crashing down here on line 87. It's saying pet is not an object. So we also need to include join to the pets table. We've joined orders to order details, but we're trying to display the pet names. So then we've got to include the order details .pet. So we're going from order, the parent, to the details child. Then we need to go from the details child also to the pet parent. Otherwise, we have no access to the pet names. So now our query is including 3 tables with 2 joins. Now it works. Go back to my list. And yes, I should format this as currency. So there's our receipt page. That's a decent looking receipt. Good enough for now. Right? We see our order number. I guess we'll add the currency formatting here as well. So So go back to my details. This will be the last change we make here. Again, we'll add currency formatting here. Format. Okay, so now we get currency. So when a user finishes paying, this is the page they're going to see now automatically. They're going to see their new order number, and they're going to go straight here after they pay at Stripe. We need to clean up this page, and then we also need to implement security, because right now this is wide open. Even if I go to a private window, I can just go here. I'm not even logged in. I can, do anything with these orders, which is not so good. We'll also need to add security so that when I'm logged in as this user, right, I shouldn't be able to see this order. This is someone else's order. So I shouldn't be able to see it here, nor should I be able to view the details of an order that is not mine. So we'll clean up the HTML here, and then we'll just do that little bit of security implementation. So I'm going to go to Orders, Index. We'll make a few changes here. The title should just be, say, Order History, both on line 4 and on line 7. We're going to remove the Create New link. You can't just add an order. You got to go through the shopping cart and the payment process. We'll also maybe shorten our table a little bit. Maybe for simplicity, we'll hide on this page. Let's just hide postal code and phone. And we'll also remove the payment code, which we didn't actually wind up using this. Oops. Maybe I'll even get rid of the address as well. So I'll have date, total, first, last, city, province. Yeah, I'll get rid of the phone. I want to just make this table a bit more readable. So I'll just have these 7 columns. I'll also do the same inside our loop here. I'm going to get rid of address, phone, postal code, and payment code. Okay, so I got the same 7 columns: order date, order total, first name, last name, city, province, customer. I'm going to get rid of the edit and delete links, as well as this little vertical line after details. So these pages are read-only. In fact, we don't even want the create, edit, or delete methods or views. We only want index and details. So now my order history looks like this. It's better. Okay, the only link here is to details, or to go back. I'm actually going to get rid of these other views: create, detail, delete, and edit. I don't want them. Get rid of them. So orders create, just right-click it and delete it permanently. Orders delete, I'm going to do the same thing. And orders edit, same thing. So once an order is made and paid for, it's read-only. We're not going to modify or remove them once they're in our database. We should have a record of those transactions because people have paid for them already. So now we need to add a little bit of security here. the entire orders controller should require authentication. An anonymous user should not be able to access the orders at all. That's number one. So we can just add authorize up at the top here. We'll need to add our reference as usual to the authorization library. And now we need to make changes to both the index method and the details method. Because right now, the index method, it just shows all the orders. Doesn't matter who you are. When I'm logged in with my Google account, save that change and build. So in Firefox, I see my own order, but I also see the order made by the Google user. When I'm logged in with my Google account, again, I see somebody else's order. So there should be a filter here unless our user is in the administrative role. The administrator should be able to see all the orders, but not the customers. So let's say if our user dot is enroll administrator, and we'll move this existing line of code in here. So the administrator gets all the orders. So orders. Otherwise, we'll return a view with a wait. Context.orders, and now we have a where clause. We're going to filter the orders only for this customer. So the same query, the administrator, there's no filter. Administrator, they get everything. So this customer, only their own orders. So now as an administrator, I should see 2 orders, but as a customer, I should only see the orders that I made. I'm actually going to use a third browser here. I'll sign in as an administrator in Edge. So we can try this out. So I can log in. So when I'm logged in as an administrator, right, I can see both orders. But as a customer, now I only see my own. There's my Google user. Okay, that's fine. I will upload the recording a bit later, and I'll be pushing to GitHub shortly. So you'll have those to reference. So now I can only see my own orders. However, if I click details, I could also change the ID number, right? So we need the same check on the details. I'm logged in as customer, but now just by playing around with the URL parameter, I'm able to see someone else's data. Not cool. So we need the same kind of similar check inside the details, right? Where we're querying the order, we also want to say, so if, I guess if not, user dot is enroll. So if our user is not an administrator and our order.customer is not the user that's logged in. In that case, we're just going to take them back to the index. We're not going to let them in. They can't get to the details method. So we're just going to redirect them back to index. So if they try to change that URL parameter so that they can look up somebody else's order, before we return the view with the order, we're checking. Okay, if you're not an administrator and the customer for this order is not the account you're logged in with, you're just going back to you're going back up here. All the other methods in here, we can actually delete as well. So the rest of the methods in this controller, I'm actually just going to scroll to the bottom. We can get rid of all of them because this is for create, edit, and delete. We don't want these methods. We're not enabling this functionality. So all the way down. My controller is much shorter now. There's only two methods. Index, there's a constructor, there's index and details. I'm going to try that again. I'm going to go to details in my own order. But now when I try and view somebody else's order, it just kicks me back here. Same thing in Chrome. I can view my own. I try to see order 1. Nope. As an administrator, no problem. I can see the customer's order. I can see the Google account order. It's fine. So we're just about done. The only other thing we want to do is we want to add a link here to the order history. It's not visible to anonymous users, but as soon as someone logs in, they should get an order history link appearing. So this will be our final task for today. We'll just go to our shared layout. And beside the shop link, say if our user .identity .is authenticated. We don't care about the role. They can be a customer, they can be an administrator. Either one is fine. Then I'm just going to copy in a link here. And our controller is going to be orders. And our link is going to say orders. Not sure why my color coding isn't working. Let's try that out. I'm going to log out. Notice we don't see the orders link. But once I'm logged in, now I can see orders. Same in Chrome. I'm logged in, so I can see the orders. Where I'm an administrator, same thing. I can see everybody's orders. If I log out, it disappears. I'm blocked. I log back in. Now I've got my order history. So our cart is finished. We've pretty much done all of the functionality of the shopping experience, right from managing of the store as an administrator, which we did, to being able to shop as a customer, build our cart, check out and pay, do one more. So now when my payment's done, it brings me right to my confirmation. Right? I see, okay, cool. I got order ID 3. Here's what I got. Here's what I expect my credit card charge to be. If I go back to my orders, now I can see both orders. Expensive one from earlier and the one I made. now. I will push everything up. History, details. Okay, so all the code is on GitHub. I'll get our video uploaded as soon as I can. You have no homework for this week, so your only work is finish off your cart if you happen to be a bit behind or miss something today. Okay, so you can use the GitHub repository as reference. I also have office hours tomorrow morning if you need a hand. Okay, so next week, we'll start looking at unit testing, and I will give out assignment 4 at the start of class next week. No, Colton, no, we won't be. No. The cart was just, I found a useful way of kind of teaching the core MVC and .NET concepts, but you won't be assessed on a cart. Yeah, that's right. One, it was just to provide kind of a useful context that we were all familiar with as an end user. And it was a good I thought, a useful way for us to incorporate learning all these different features in .NET. But you won't be required to include it in your assignment, no. Yeah, I mean, I won't be testing you on Stripe payments. That's not a official learning outcome of the course, but I thought it was a nice to do thing, like a useful thing to show you guys and give you some exposure to. You won't be tested on it, so don't stress about that. Yes, we have 2 classes next semester. So the advanced server-side scripting with Mean, yes, that is me. And Project Studio as well, that is also me. I've also gotten actually a preliminary schedule. It is subject to change. At the moment, Project Studio is scheduled for Thursday afternoons from 12 till 3. And these classes are on campus, so we actually get to meet, laugh together in person, which would be nice. Very much looking forward to meeting students who we've only connected online for like a year now. So right now, Project Studio is scheduled for 12 to 3 on Thursdays. And then we're back together Friday mornings from 8 to 11. That is the mean stat class. It's Friday morning. Yes, I know it's not for everybody, but I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. I certainly am. I actually was on campus yesterday briefly. It was really good to be back there. So at the moment, it's looking like Thursday afternoons, Friday mornings that we will be together, subject to change. When I have an official schedule about when we'll have class together, I will confirm it with you.